Hello, for this lesson we are talking about least common denominators, okay? And the first thing we're going to talk about here briefly is kind of the introductory to finding the least common denominator, and that's understanding the least common multiple, okay? And the least common multiple, that is simply the lowest number that's multiple, so in this case we have two numbers. It's the lowest number that they can both go into, okay? And then when we get into least common denominators, those are simply, we're looking at the denominators and finding the least common multiple of those denominators, okay? So, in this first section, it says list the first 10 multiples of each number, then find the least common multiple, or the LCM, of the two numbers, okay? So, how we can list this out is I'd say, okay, well, I'm going to look at 4, okay? I need to list out 10 multiples. Well, 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 6 is 24. 4 times 7 is 28. 4 times 8 is 32. 4 times 9 is 36. And 4 times 10 is 40. Well, that should be our 10th multiple, okay? So we found the multiples for 4, and let's do 7, okay? Well, 1 times 7 is 7, then we have 14, then we have 21, then we have 28, then we have 35, then we have 42, then we have 49, then we have 56, then we have 63, then we have 70, and that is our 10th multiple, okay? So to find the LCM, or the least common multiple, we need to look and we need to say, all right, well, what's the first multiple that they have in common? Okay, and the first one I see is 28, okay? It's 28. So our LCM is 28. Then we need to do the same thing for number 2, where I have the number 6, and I have 6 times 1 is 6, and then I have 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, 48, 54, and 60. Okay. Then for 8, I need to go 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, 56, 64, 72, and 80. Okay. So, from there I need to look for the LCM, the least common denominator, the LCM, the least common multiple, and it is 24. Okay. So, it says find the least common denominator, then rewrite the fraction with the least common denominator. Okay, so your job here then would be to, if you need to, write out those multiples. If you know the least common denominator, you are allowed to simply say, oh, I know it. Okay, I know what the least common denominator is. Okay, but for the purpose of this, we are going to write it out. Okay, so I'm going to take, right, we're looking at the denominators. I don't need to write the fractions. That would be very annoying. Okay, but I'm going to use 8 and I'm going to use 3. Well, we already did 8. We know 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, okay, 48, 56, 64. And I'm going to assume at this point, I think the 3 will find it, okay? So, going to 10, this one is testing your skill, being able to go to the 10 multiples. That's good. But oftentimes, you won't need to go all that far. Okay, so let's try this one. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. Okay, let's check this one out. So I heard 24. 24 is the one I see. Okay, you can check over that, make sure I haven't made a mistake. But I believe 24 is the one that we're going to work with. Okay? And then we need to remember, right, the next part, it says then rewrite the fractions with the least common denominator. So how do we write equivalent fractions? So 5/8, right? And we're going to multiply it by something, and we want to get out the denominator of 24. Okay? Well, 8 times what is 24? It's 8 times 3. And if we multiply the denominator by that, we have to multiply the numerator by that. So 5 times 3 is 15. Okay? So, that's that one. 2/3. We have 2/3. I know I need to multiply it by something to get me to have 24 in my denominator. Okay? From there, I say 3 times what was 24? Well, it was 8. Okay, 3 times 8 is 24. So then we say, if I multiply the denominator by 8, I multiply the numerator by 8. So 2 times 8 is 16. So let's make sure we reread these rules and make sure we know what we have to find. Find the least common denominator. Okay, that was 24. Okay, and then rewrite the fractions with the least common denominator. Okay, so that's the first part. First part is 24, and then I have 15 over 24 and 16 over 24. Perfect. Now, let's move on to number 4. All right, same type of problem. Let's write this down here. 12 and 10. Okay. Well, 12, it's 12. 24. Okay, we got 36, 48, 60. Ooh, I'm going to notice something. It ends in a 0. What do we know about anything any multiples of 10? They end in 0. So I'm going to use that hint. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. So, right, remembering these different little tricks, you'll remember things like that. Say, hey, I got 12 to 60, right? 60 is, right, a multiple of 12. So I know 60 will be a multiple of 10. Okay, so we found the least common denominator. That is 60. All right, now let's get those fractions into equivalent fractions with our common denominator. So I have 7 over 12. I know I have to multiply by something, and I want to end up with 60 in my denominator. Well, 12 times what is 60? 12 times 5 is 60. So if I do that to my denominator, I have to do the same thing to my numerator. 7 times 5 is 35. So my first one is 35 over 60. And then I need to go, well, I have 3/10. I'm going to multiply by something. It's going to end up getting me something over 60. 10 times what is 60? 10 times 6 is 60. So I have to multiply the numerator and the denominator by 6. So 3 times 6 is 18. And 18 over 60 is our equivalent fraction. So we get 18 over 60. And that answers our question. So there you go. Good luck with your lesson on the least common denominators.